won't you stand and worship with us tonight?
The kindness of heaven is here in your presence. You move with compassion. You reach out and pull me closer. Your river of mercy, a stream never ending. The strength of your love will carry me. Who can stand against my God is strong and open hands. They cover me in mercy. It covers me in mercy. Your mercy covers me. Out of the ashes, eternity promised. Extravagant goodness and patience abundant. I've been forgiven, my sin is forgotten. The strength of your love will carry me. Let's sing this out. Who can stand? Who can stand against my God is strong and open hands. It covers me in mercy. It covers me in mercy. Your mercy covers me. Who can stand against my God is strong and open hands. It covers me in mercy. It covers me in mercy. Compassion, forgiveness, the strength in my weakness. Devoted, sufficient. Your love bridged the distance. Compassion, forgiveness, the strength in my weakness. Devoted, sufficient. Your love bridged the distance. Let's sing this out. Compassion, forgiveness, the strength in my weakness. Devoted, sufficient. Your love bridged the distance. Oh, what kindness in your presence, my salvation. Who can stand? Who can stand against my God? My God has strong and open hands. Covers me. Covers me in mercy. Covers me in mercy. Covers me. Who can stand against?
Before I reach out my arms, you've opened up yours. Before I pour out my heart, you know every thought. Sing, I will be anxious for nothing. I will be anxious for nothing. Hold on to one thing, my comfort, my peace. I will be safe in your presence, so fierce and so tender. My comfort, Your voice, stronger than fear, waits in the night. Your words tear through the dark. Your words tear through the dark and flood it with light. You fill it with fire, and I will be anxious for nothing. I hold on to what's my comfort, my peace. I will be safe in your presence, so fierce and so tender. My comfort, my peace. You won't forsake me, you won't betray me, you'll never fail me, and I won't be afraid. You won't forsake me, you won't betray me, you'll never fail me, and I won't be afraid. No,
You won't forsake.
you won't betray me,
You won't betray.
you'll never fail.
You never fail.
And I won't be afraid. No,
You won't forsake me. You won't betray me. You'll never fail me,
and I won't be afraid. 'Cause you will
protect me.
you will
Defend me. You're standing with me,
and I won't be
afraid. You will protect me. You will defend me.
You're standing with me.
I won't be afraid.
I won't be afraid. And I won't be afraid. And I won't be afraid, my God. And I won't be afraid. And I will be anxious for nothing. I'll hold on to one thing. You are my peace. And I will be safe in your presence, so fierce and so tender. You're my comfort, my peace. I will be anxious for nothing. I'll hold on to one thing, my God, my peace. And I will be safe in your presence, so fierce and so tender. My comfort, my peace.
Come on!
Wow!
Whoa! Man, can we just give it up for the worship team one more time? That
was
song,
amazing.
oh my gosh.
They didn't do that little treat of an extension in the morning, and it was epic. That was amazing, guys.
Well, my name is Erwin. I'm one of the pastors here. This is my lovely wife.
Hi, I'm Haven, and I have the privilege of volunteering here.
And if no one's told you yet, welcome to Mosaic. We are so, so glad that you're here with us tonight. And we want to give you a chance to meet some of the people around you. There's some of the best people in Los Angeles right now in this room. So go ahead, meet somebody around you, and then find your seat. All right, so as you're finding your seat, we want to let you know about a couple quick things. One huge thing just happened on Friday. If you don't recognize that first song, it's because you haven't heard MSC's new album, Heaven, that's out. Woo! These songs are so powerful, and I just love that we get to take the voice and the vision of what Mosaic is and put it into musical form. That's how you make a record, right there, right?
That's true.
And so it's just such a beautiful thing. There's some songs on it that maybe you haven't heard that we've never played live before, right? At church, you're like, what's Eyes on You? I don't know. There's one place that you're gonna get to hear all those songs in a really big way, and it happens in a couple of weeks, if you think about it.
If you think about it. It is in November, and we are gathering some of the world's best artists, communicators, speakers, influencers for 3 days, and it's called Mosaic Conference. Woo! And if you haven't gotten your ticket, today is a great day to do it because when you do, you get this. Please hold it up, honey.
Ooh, where is it? Here it is.
T-shirt that says Heaven, but it's Heaven backwards. It's for the album, and you get it today if you register, so we'd love for you to do that today. In the back at Next Step after the gathering.
Definitely do that. Up next, to continue our time of worship, I want to invite our campus pastor, the man, Joe Smith, to come up and lead us.
Come on. Love you guys. Come on. Don't you want to be like the Wheatses when you grow up? You guys are phenomenal. I love that we have the privilege of having them here in Hollywood, a part of our team. If you don't know them, if you have not met them, if you haven't had coffee with them, you are missing out. So I just volunteered you to have 500 coffees, so you're welcome. You guys excited to be in church tonight? Man, I'm trying to tell you, tonight, you have a gift. Because Pastor Erwin is back, he is here, and this talk that he is going to give is phenomenal on every level. So if you will lean in, if you'll just especially if you're a guest, if it's your first time, in fact, if you're here and it's your first time here at Mosaic, can you raise your hand? We'd love to just see you. Wow. Come on now. Hands everywhere. Give them a high five if you're around them. Man, we're so glad you're here. Welcome. And yeah, especially if you're here for the first time, man, if you'll let it, this talk can really shape and transform your life. And so I just want to encourage all of us to just be engaged, to be leaning in, to be present, because it is such a powerful word. Now what we're going to do is a transition into a time where we receive our offering, where we give together. So I want to invite our team to come forward, and as they do, with the shiny buckets, I'm going to read from 2 Chronicles chapter 31. Starting verse 5, listen to what it says. As soon as the order went out, the Israelites generously gave the first fruits of their grain, new wine, olive oil, and honey, and all that the fields produced. They brought a great amount, a tithe of everything. The people of Israel and Judah who lived in the towns of Judah also brought a tithe of their herds and flocks, a tithe of the holy things dedicated to the Lord, their God, and they piled them up in heaps. I love that part. Just the imagery of whatever it is, they just piled it up in heaps, letting us know there was a lot. And then verse 7, listen to this. It says, they began doing this in the 3rd month and finished in the 7th month. And any health fans out there? Any fitness people? Make some noise. Ooh, 6 of you. All right. Okay. I'm with those 6 for a little bit, right? So a friend of mine in London, he told me about this thing called Huel. And it's basically like this shake, this smoothie that you get that has all the nutrients that you're having. And you can have it for breakfast and lunch, and it's supposed to be the perfect meal. So I was excited. I was like, all right, here we go. I'm going to get this Huel. I ordered it. The first day, I was like, this doesn't taste good. You ever been there? You had an idea where you're like, oh, you didn't tell me it was going to taste bad? And why can't health taste good? It feels good. Why can't it taste good, you know? And you got an amen in the front row, right? And so I was just all about this. And then 3 days later, I was like, I'm never having this ever in my life again. I'll keep the fat if it means I just get to eat good stuff. And it was so easy to start Huel. It was so easy to go online and buy it and commit that I was going to be a part of this. It was so hard to keep it going. And I love this passage, this moment in the scriptures when it says they were so committed to what God was doing. It says they brought their honey. That's how you knew. They brought their honey. And they brought their oil, brought their herds, the first fruits of all that they had gleaned. It says they brought it, and it says they started in the 3rd month and they ended in the 7th month. See, I wonder for us, Mosaic, if we became the type of tribe that we just didn't start stuff, but we finished stuff. I wonder what we would be a part of as a church if when we gave, we didn't just give in a moment of inspiration, but we gave over a time because we knew that there was the power of faithfulness. And I'm so committed to what we're doing across the globe. I believe so much in what we get to do when we give generously and sacrificially. We get to go to Malawi, right? We get to send teams. There's a team about to go to Puerto Rico, right? And I love that. You know what I love that as well? You know, that was a year ago when the tragic hurricane came, and there's all this conversation around it, right? I love that we didn't just start in Puerto Rico a year ago, but we're finishing it when they need it the most. And that people are going on our behalf and they're sacrificing. See, Mosaic, I want us, Hollywood, I want us to be the church that when we give, we don't just give in a moment. Because when you give one time, it can change a moment. But if you give all the time, you can actually create a movement. And so if you've never given before, I want to encourage you, make today be the first day where you begin the practice of trusting God with your finances, where you invest and build locally what God does globally through the church. And maybe if you've just given once, I want to encourage you today to have reoccurring giving, to set it up, to be a part of what we're doing. Because man, there's so many people that need to know that there's a God that's fighting for them. But if we don't give on their behalf, how will they ever find out? So let's give today. Let's give right now in this moment. You can go ahead and pass the buckets. And there's a few different ways to give that I want to let you know about. I want to highlight this one over here. On the right says check. Check to Mosaic in the buckets. That's these buckets. If you have a check, if you know what a checkbook is, that means you got money, okay? If you don't know what a checkbook is, just keep praying and keep hustling because He's gonna bless you, right? And then also, I want to go on, if you can give through the app. It's the best way to set up reoccurring giving where you get to be a part of what we're doing all across the globe. And I cannot wait for all the people that are going to find life because of not just what we talked about doing, but what we were a part of doing when we gave generously and sacrificially. So all of you who give, thank you so much. Thank you for your commitment to what we're doing. And I cannot wait for what God's going to do next in us. So we've got some awesome opportunities to get involved, plugged in things going on in Mosaic that we'd love to let you know about. So check out Church News.
What's up, Mosaic? My name's Dom.
And I'm Caroline. Welcome to Church News. Here at Mosaic, the easiest way to stay up to date with everything that's going on is to follow us on Instagram. You can also go to the Next Step area after the gathering to meet your new best friends and find out how to join a team.
If you like what we do here on Sundays, round 2 happens on Wednesdays. It's called Midweek here at Hollywood. 8 p.m., bring a friend, bring a barista, bring that girl you've been checking out, and come on, we can't wait to see you. I got a seat for you.
Mosaic MSC just dropped their latest album!
Heaven!
Get it at Next Step after the gathering. It's amazing!
Maker of the heaven there is none.
But better.
Yeah, not like that, but better than that.
Hey Mosaic, I'm so excited to announce that starting September 29th, Pastor Erwin is launching a brand new series called Chasing Daylight. See, I would not be in Los Angeles if it was not for that book. I read it, it changed my life, and I said I have to be at Mosaic. So here's what we're gonna ask of you. Join us, invite all your friends. It's gonna be a 6-week series, and around the series, we're gonna launch book clubs, we're gonna have crews, and so if you wanna host a book club, go to mosaic.org/chasingdaylight and get you all the info on that. And if you're in LA, I want to encourage you to join a crew. It's a great space to meet people, get connected, be a part of what we're doing. It is going to be phenomenal. And there is a limited edition. So make sure you buy your copy at Next Step. Go get it now. Go get it today. Don't wait. I cannot wait for this series.
Our lead pastors, Erwin and McManus, have created a weekend where we can lean into the future of the church, the future of worship, and the future of humanity. This weekend is called Mosaic Conference, and it's coming up so soon. If you're still not convinced, check out this video.
T-minus 90 seconds and counting.
Don't get involved in fights you don't belong in. but you better fight the ones that are yours. And sometimes in the middle, you have to choose what that fight is.
Start where you are, and then one day you may look back and realize that very small step you took, that one step in the right direction, was actually one of the biggest steps of faith of your entire life, because you had no idea what our good God would do on the other side of it.
That burn in your belly and that desire in your heart is purpose. And from the time that you were knitted in your mama's womb, downloaded in your DNA is the capacity to run your race. You have the capacity to be all that you were called, created to be.
Our God is a God of the future. And everything that God has done for us, it's all about our future. Hope is for the future. Faith is for the future. Forgiveness is for the future. Love is for the future.
But some of you just keep looking at the wind and looking at the clouds, and what Solomon is saying, stop looking for excuses and waiting for the perfect time, and get in the game and act and be bold, because the future belongs to the bold.
We love you, Mosaic.
Let's stand and worship together.
I am running to your promise, holding fast to everything you said to me. You can take me through the fire, you can ignite the flame inside of me. I'm on the road less traveled, I'm on my way to your heart, Lord. When no eyes see, you will show me your heart, Lord. Oh, show me your heart, Lord. Open up my eyes to see you, my mind, to know you, my soul. It longs only for you. Let me hear your voice resounding, your words creating a brand new heart in me. My desire is to love you. You're the light that will guide me through the night. You are with me in the battle, bringing peace to the war inside my heart. I know your love's no limits in every space. Your love embrace. You're calling me out, and I'm ready. So open up my eyes to see you, my mind, to know you, my soul. It longs only for you. Let me hear your voice resounding, your words creating a brand new heart in me. Church, let's make this song our prayer tonight. All we want is to be where God is. Will you sing this out with me? To live in grace, so wonderful. All I want is to be where you are. To know a love so beautiful. Oh Lord, show me your heart. To live in grace, to live in grace. for you. And let me hear your voice resounding, your words creating a brand new heart in me.
How you guys doing tonight? So good. What I want you to do right now is I want you to find a seat. I'm going to talk to you for just a couple of minutes and give you a gift. It's going to be amazing. You guys going great? Yeah? We just came back from Kuala Lumpur and Taipei and Singapore. We were gone for a couple of weeks. Yeah? You don't look Asian. Okay. And we had an amazing time. And Kim this morning asked me, why are you wearing like such baggy clothes? And I said, pork buns. And I didn't know maple syrup could be a food group, but they cook the pork buns inside of maple syrup. And and these Michelin star like pork buns, they're like $2 or something. And we had to. And so now I'm paying the price. I have limited clothes I can select. And so I'll be wearing very, very baggy, sack-like clothes for a few weeks. And then hopefully we'll get back into the regiment of no pork barn lives. But part of what was really beautiful is just seeing God do beautiful things across the world and watching how the church is expressed in such incredible places. And did you notice that the Mosaic Conference video has an added speaker? And his name is Pastor Kevin Lowe. He's the pastor of the Collective in Kuala Lumpur. And it's amazing. This is an incredible church of university-age students. And in the middle of the prayer call 5 times a day in this Islamic country, and just watching the creativity and innovation and entrepreneurialism of these people is so amazing. We asked Pastor Kevin if he would come and speak, and so he's going to come and share it. It's going to be so incredible. And I hope you notice, if you ever pay attention to these conferences that different churches do, we're not really inviting the people that all the conferences have. We're trying to find some really unique voices that can speak into our culture and our space. And I really want to encourage you to sign up for the Mosaic Conference, November 8th through 10th. And I know we've said this twice, but I don't want you to miss this. Because it's one thing to get a crowd, and it's harder to build a church, but it takes an incredible amount of work to create culture. And we're believing that you're the future leaders of Mosaic. You're the future leaders that are going to take this culture, this movement, this expression of faith around the world. And you need to be at the conference for 2 real specific reasons. One, for the things that we poured into your life. But also we have like 40 people coming from Brazil, and about 50 people from Latin America, and probably that many people from Asia. And they're coming to experience Mosaic, and they cannot experience Mosaic without you being there. And so it's not only just receiving what God's going to put into your life and all these different people are bringing, but it's also to contribute to the lives of other people and to meet some amazing people. And some of you are going, I can't afford it. Yes, you can. You afford whatever you want, and you afford whatever you decide you need. And so you just have to make a value shift in your life and sign up for the conference. The second thing is we're doing these book clubs around chasing daylight, and it starts in a couple of weeks. And after last night in Orange County, I heard some people at the table where the books were going, should I buy a book? Well, it's like $20. I don't even know how much you're selling them for. And like, well, that's a lot of money. And one guy said, let's buy one book and we'll all do a book club. And first we're going to try to do a book club without a book, which I don't know if they understand what the word book means. And they said, well, let's buy one book for everyone in the book club. And I sit there thinking to myself, this is amazing. If you spend more money on your feet than you do on your brain, you're not going to live the life God created you to live. And when you buy a book, you're not investing in the author. You're investing in yourself. The author has written the book. The author has written the book to invest in you. And I cannot tell you how many people DM me from around the world going, can you be my personal mentor? And I have to say no. And there's so many people I wish I could mentor, but books allow you to mentor people one-on-one. You have to decide to become the person who receives and grows. I want to encourage you to get into a crew and into a book club, and not just to get a book for yourself, but for someone who you can connect to Jesus through this process. It's terrifying for people when you say, do you want to come to a Bible study? They're going to say, no. But if you say, hey, do you want to come to a book club? They'll go, Oprah. And suddenly they come. So use this as an opportunity to invite people and connect them to what God is doing here. It's going to be an amazing time. But the main reason I wanted to come up here is to introduce something. Because we have the new album, Heaven, that just came out. Isn't that amazing? And I love the songs already. I mean, the Glory and Wonder was incredible. And one of the songs has been nominated for 3 Dove Awards. It's incredible what God is doing. But I think this album even surpasses what was created with the first album. And I don't even know what my favorite song is right now. But there's a song called 15. It's written around Luke 15, around the story of the prodigal son. And it's a powerful and beautiful story. If you listen to the lyrics carefully enough, it's the promise that no matter how far you run away, God's going to keep chasing after you. And when you finally turn around and decide to come home, he's going to run to you and wrap his arms around you. And every time I hear the song, I'm just so moved emotionally. But you may not know that they actually shot 3 music videos. And when I saw the music video for 15, I was just blown away. I said, I have to show it. I have to show it. And Mariah kept saying, you can't show it yet because it drops next week. I said, yeah, but we have to show it here. And so we made a deal. If you're watching on the live stream, you're not going to get to watch this because you're not here. And that's the price you're paying for not being here, okay? And so right now we're going to show something else, like a cartoon or something like that. And you'll be experiencing something other than what we're about to experience. Because right now we're going to have the world premiere of 15.
Against all hope, I will believe. Through raging wars, you fight for peace. You have always made a way, a path of beauty you create. And I know your love is strong enough to meet me where I am. Hallelujah, you will never let me down. Hallelujah, you will never let me down. Your hope runs through my veins. Your love, it pays away. Your hope runs through my veins. Your love, it pays.
Man, I can't wait till it comes out next week. You guys are gonna love it. Not kidding. It's coming to Berlin, London, Shanghai, Tokyo. It's gonna be all over the world. You know, one of the great privileges I have in my life is I get to travel the world, and I get to go to so many different countries and cultures and be in the middle of different languages and expressions of being human. And even specifically, I get to step into different churches that are formed in such different contexts. And I can't tell you how many times I've been in places like Kuala Lumpur and Taipei and Singapore, and the founders will tell me what we're doing has been formed and informed by what's happened at Mosaic. And they'll tell me we've been informed by Mosaic for 20 years or 15 years or 10 years or 5 years. And what will always surprise me is that everywhere I go, they think they're doing Mosaic, but a lot of times they're doing Mosaic more Mosaic than us. Because they've taken an idea of us and have used their own ingenuity and creativity and innovation and pioneering and created something that translates in such an extraordinary way. And I almost feel like I'm cheating because they bring me in to teach them, but I always leave having learned more than I taught them. And sometimes your brain just begins to expand at painful levels because you realize that something was possible that you didn't see as possible. That something could be elevated that you didn't know could be elevated at a higher level. And what has really burned inside of my own soul is this overwhelming, repetitive pattern I've seen around the world of those who achieve greatness. Because there is individual greatness, and then there's communal greatness. And there are times where there are just these expressions of greatness that are so inspiring that it can be both exhilarating and depressing. Exhilarating because every time you see an expression of greatness, it makes you believe that maybe you too could do something great with your life. Depressing because you haven't. And you realize there's a huge gap between who you long to be and who you are. One of the core themes of Mosaic, and this is one of the things I hope is translated across the world and that we never get tired of stepping into here, is that we believe in the greatness of every human being. We believe that there is greatness inside of every human being. And I can tell you, so many times when I would talk about the greatness of people, I'd always get all this negative feedback from Christians. No, God's great, not humans. So you need to focus on the greatness of God. Don't talk about the greatness of people. Great people are not great. And I'm going, wait a minute. Who created humans? I think God created humans. I'm pretty sure. And I'm able to connect some dots to see if God is great and we're created by God, then there's greatness inside of us. Because a great God could not create something that wasn't great. And so that tells me that if we're created in the image and likeness of God, that there is no human being, that there is not greatness within. And by the way, your greatness will never be in competition with God's greatness. You're great, but not that great. God's not worried about your greatness. He's not jealous of your greatness. He's not concerned that your greatness will overshadow his greatness. So no matter how glorious your life is, it's never going to be more glorious than God. But there's a tension in this, because if you hold to this conviction that there's greatness inside of every human being, you also have to deal with this practical reality that very few people actually ever step into their greatness. Most of us live painfully, tragically, ordinary lives, feeling as if the greatness within us was elusive and unattainable. And I feel certain there's some of you here that have a haunting sense that there's something inside of you that is more than what you are. But you can't seem to access it. You can't seem to awaken it. Somehow it's lost under the rubble of the life you've lived so far. And I've realized that a part of the problem is that our language, it almost betrays us, because we use language of grace and faith. And so oftentimes our understanding of grace and faith creates a passive relationship to life. You know, if it's going to happen, God's going to do it. Right? If God wants it to happen, then he's going to make it happen, and we end up living passive lives. But have you ever noticed that people who just go, well, if God wants to do it, he's going to do it, that God never does anything with them? And have you ever noticed that the person who says, I'm going to take ownership and responsibility for my life, it's amazing how many times God shows up for that person? So what I want to do just for a few moments is talk to you about what it takes to be great. Because I don't want you to drown in a mythology of greatness, wondering why did you never step up to the person you were created to be? Why did you never actualize the greatness inside of you? Because I think sometimes we think that if there's greatness in us, it should just come out naturally. But greatness never comes out until we reach in. So I started thinking about the people in the scriptures, because most of the time we take isolated moments in someone's life in the Bible and then try to pull principles on how to live our lives. But really what I want to talk to you for a moment is really an overarching view of the human story. See, tonight I don't want to look at a tree, I want to look at the forest. So many times we look at the trees and we miss the forest. You see, there are overarching principles in the lives of the men and women that God uses that he elevates out of obscurity and leads them out to greatness. And those principles, that structure needs to exist in us. I'm going to read the last part of the book of Genesis. Genesis is a strange book because the first half of Genesis is about all of humanity, then the second half is about Joseph. How do you narrow down to just one person? So it's like, here's the story of all of us and Joseph. And then the book of Genesis ends when Joseph's life ends. Can you imagine living a life so profound, so powerful, yes, so great, that an entire book of the Bible closes when your story closes? And if you don't know anything about Joseph, we'll touch on a few things along the way. But at the end of his life, Joseph is looking at his brothers, talking to his family. And you will discover it's the very same family who betrayed him. It's the very same family who tried to kill him. It's the very same family who caused him so much pain and wounding. It's the same family who sold him out as a slave. It's the same family who never believed in his dreams. That same family was saved by this person, Joseph. And the only reason they had a future was because he had a dream. And in Genesis chapter 50, beginning in verse 24, it says, then Joseph said to his brothers, I am about to die, but God will surely come to your aid and will take you up out of this land to the land he promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And Joseph made the Israelites swear an oath and said, God will surely come to your aid, and then you must carry my bones up from this place. So Joseph died at the age of 110, and after they embalmed him, he was placed in a coffin in Egypt. And this is the culminating moment of the life of Joseph. And as we dive into his story, we'll discover that he was an individual, unexpected, who achieved such greatness that the entire future of humanity rested in his hands. Not only the people of Israel, the Hebrews who became a nation, but that nation from which was the context in which the Savior of the world came from. Have you ever had a moment of greatness? In fact, I used to tell people, look, just identify 5 minutes of greatness in your life. Because I think everyone's been great for at least 5 minutes in some area. And if you could just take those 5 minutes of greatness and stretch them to 6, and the 10, the 20, you might actually begin to step into your greatness. But it isn't really those 5 minutes of greatness that we need to focus on. It's really the moments that led us into those 5 minutes of greatness. I mean, have you ever had like 5 minutes where you just thought, like, I'm awesome? You can't say that out loud, although some of you have. And that's part of the problem is, but have you ever had that moment you thought, wow, I'm kind of like awesome? You ever have a moment where maybe someone came and asked you for advice, and you never have advice? But that time you did. And that time the advice was actually right. You were so wise. You were like Yoda. And later you thought, wow, man, I was like so insightful. You ever had a moment you were just awesome? That moment where you actually achieved. Your highest expectation, that moment where you wrote a song or you took on a scene or you were in a relationship. Have you ever been a relational genius? You were about to fight, but you transcended. And you knew how to heal the relationship and fix that crisis. And you knew exactly what to say. And later you walked away going, bam. I was awesome. If only I could do that all the time, I would actually have a relationship. What does it take to be great? I started thinking about different disciplines or environments or domains, and I thought, well, I'm just going to go back to one of my favorites, basketball. I mean, I love Steph Curry, and I love Kevin Durant, and I love all things Warriors, and I'm hoping the Clippers pick up some more players and that we have a better season. But, you know, as I look at the entire NBA, and if I'm just going to be objective, even if it's painfully objective, if I were to identify who the greatest, most dominant player in all of pro basketball is, I'm just going to have to admit it's LeBron James. It's LeBron James. And I know he's a Laker now, and all the Laker fans are so obnoxious. And, the Lakers are going to be great. Are they really going to be great, or will LeBron be great in a Laker uniform? See, because were the Cavs really great, or was it just LeBron who was great? And then the Cavs looked great. Was Miami great? It was just LeBron great. See, one of the things about greatness is you can identify a few things, especially with LeBron. Wherever he went wasn't great before he got there. Was great while he was there. And wasn't great after he left. So you may not be able to identify what greatness does, but you can identify it when you remove it. And in fact, a part of the story of LeBron is he seems to do great things with not so great players. Players who look great while he's there. They didn't look great before he got there, and they didn't look that great after he left. But while he was there, they looked great. And I thought, well, last year in Game 7 against the Celtics, when the Celtics should have won and the Cavs stole it, LeBron played 48 minutes. That's like a physical phenomenon. It's like running 4 miles at a sprint pace. And he's not young anymore. And he's able to play 48 minutes at a world-class level. I mean, that's just ridiculous. But most of the time, he doesn't play 48 minutes. Most of the time, he plays 37.9 minutes. That's his average playing time, 37.9 minutes. That means about 12 minutes a game, he's sitting on the bench. For 12 minutes, the most dominant, greatest player in the world is sitting on the bench doing nothing on the court. Yet somehow, the team is still better just because he's sitting, watching them play. And then when he's in the game for those 37.9 minutes, can we round it off to 38 minutes? For those 38 minutes, do you know how many minutes LeBron has the ball in his hand? 6.1. The greatest, most dominant player in the world only has the ball in his hands 6 minutes out of 48 minutes. The other 42 minutes, the ball is in the hands of someone else of lesser capacity than him. What a painful existence for this man. And what's strange is that not only was his average time of holding and handling the ball 6.1 this year, it was the same amount 2 years ago when they lost to the Warriors. But the year they beat the Warriors, the year they defeated the Warriors and won the championship, LeBron had the ball in his hands 5.1 minutes, an entire minute less. So he had the ball in his hands less time when he achieved a higher level of greatness. What's going on? See, I think most of us want our greatness to be in those 5 minutes when the ball is in our hands. But we ignore the 42, 43 minutes when we're supposed to be on the court. But no one's actually looking at us because our presence, who we are, actually elevates everyone else around us and makes them great. What does it take to be great? I just want to pour out some thoughts, because one thing I've seen not only in the scriptures but throughout history is that what it takes to be great is that you have to have a sense of personal destiny. You can hear this in everyone. Whenever you begin to hear the story of men and women who achieve greatness, they always had this unexplainable sense of greatness before they demonstrated greatness. Now, maybe if you think you're going to be great, you may not be great, but I can tell you, if you don't think you're going to be great, you will never be great. You have to have this almost irrational belief that you're created to do something unique, created to do something significant. You have to believe that you have a destiny. And that word sometimes makes me nervous, because inside of the word destiny is the word destined. And so sometimes we go, well, if I have a destiny and I'm destined for it, I don't have to do anything. It's just going to come to me. Let me tell you, if you have a destiny, your destiny is not waiting for you to come. Your destiny is waiting for you to create it. And what happens when you have a sense of personal destiny that changes your internal compass toward life? You end up with a deep sense of belief, and it changes your perspective about every experience you have in your life. See, when I became a follower of Jesus, I learned a new language for destiny. It was called calling. I'd never heard the word calling in my life. It's not a language that I'd ever understood from any other environment. But when I came to faith, they said, God calls people. And it was very specific. They said God calls people in the ministry. I didn't know what ministry was. But if God calls, I wanted to respond. In fact, in some ways, I feel like the callings in my life was God just calling on a random telephone, and I ran and answered it. Because I don't know if he was calling me, but I was definitely answering. But the problem is that the way they communicate is that you're only called by God if you're called to be a pastor. Everyone else is not called. Everyone else is just jello. And I think that's what's happened with so many of us, is that we've actually convinced ourselves there are only some people with a calling from God. And if we don't have that specific calling, then we don't have a calling. But they just kept having all these follow-up callings. And so I remember I went forward to respond to the call to give my life to Jesus. And then they said, now you need to be baptized. So I went forward to respond to my call to be baptized. And then a year later, I went back and they said, oh no, there's some people actually called to ministry. I didn't know what that meant, but I said if there's a calling to ministry, then I responded to that calling. And then the next year they had this giant globe in the building. I said, what's going on? I said, this is kind of our missions focus, and we're just seeing who God is calling to be a missionary. So I went forward again. I was so tired of responding to callings. And finally I said, how many callings does God have? It would be so much more efficient if he just had one calling. And then when I opened up the scriptures, I realized there are not all these different callings. That's just something we made up to explain why there's so much apathy among people who say they follow Jesus with everything. See, there's only one calling in the scriptures. It's one singular calling. Jesus says, come, follow me. And that calling is for all of us. And when you step into that calling, God then gives you your intention. And whether you're an architect or an artist, a teacher or a writer, whether you are a barista or a dentist, it doesn't matter. You need to live your life with such intention that you have this sense of personal destiny that God has called you to do something that matters in the world. Let me tell you, I was 24 years old when I imagined this. I didn't live in Los Angeles. I never actually stayed in LA, but I saw it in a dream. And I believed I was supposed to be a part of seeing Los Angeles become an epicenter of the movement of Jesus. See, Joseph was a dreamer. When he was around 17 years old, he had a couple of dreams that came to him from God. And then he told his brothers and his father, and it didn't go well. Because Joseph, in these dreams, he said, I saw all of you bowing down before me. You can imagine how well that went. Anybody here have siblings? Anybody here have brothers and sisters? Can you imagine what it'd be like to go to your family? I had a dream, and it was really awesome. Because in the dream, like I was in the middle, you were all in my dream. You were all around me, and you were bowing. You would become the favorite child, wouldn't you? I mean, your brothers and sisters go, oh, that's amazing. What a great dream. We're just going to celebrate that. They did not. They hated Joseph. They despised him for his dreams. And he was a little flamboyant. He wore multicolored jackets. He had both style and substance. I like Joseph. But Joseph had this the sense of personal destiny because God had given him a dream of the life he was going to live, of the person he was going to become. But nothing in his life validated that dream. Not his father, not his brothers, not his family, not his circumstances. In fact, at the age of 17, his brothers wanted to kill him. They despised him at such a high level that they wanted to end his life, but they threw him in a hold and they sold him as a slave. And for the next 13 years of his life, Joseph was a slave. You ever felt like you had a dream given to you by God, but then God didn't follow it up with a destiny? See, Joseph had every reason to give up on that dream, but he had this sense of personal destiny that God had spoken into his soul. And if you don't have this sense of intention and calling in your life, you'll quit. You'll give up on that dream. And I remember when I was struggling with whether I should be a pastor or not, the pastor who was guiding me and counseling me said to me, Erwin, if you can do anything else, you need to do it. I didn't really fully understand that. And he was explaining, well, you know, being a pastor, leading a church is so difficult. If you can do anything else, you should do it. But you know what I've discovered? It's not just true for being a pastor. It's true for every person when they have to respond to their highest calling. See, if you don't want to live a challenging life, choose a lesser calling. Because the calling on your life will call you to the highest level of living, to the highest level of sacrifice. The calling on your life is going to cost you more than anything else. And if you don't want to pay a price for the destiny that God has for you, choose a different life because you can settle for less. But God will always call you to more. What it takes to be great is a sense of personal destiny. It creates an internal compass that always moves you forward no matter how many times you fail, no matter how many times things fall through, no matter how many people tell you that you cannot accomplish it. That voice just keeps moving you forward. Because that dream has to become your reality. But it needs more than just a sense of personal destiny. When you begin to live a life of greatness, you have to have self-motivated drive. You have to be driven from the inside out. There has to be something inside of you that gets you up every moment and every morning. I know we all need to be inspired, and I hope these moments together are filled with inspiration. We all need to be encouraged. We all need to have our souls strengthened. We all need to have people building into us. But let me tell you something. If you always need someone else to give you your motivation and your drive, you will never step into your greatness. Because you'll have enough people telling you cannot do it. Enough people who will reinforce your reasons for quitting. See, even if you're inspired on Sunday, I hope you know Monday is coming. And Tuesday is coming, and Wednesday is coming hard, and Thursday it's ready for you. And Friday has challenges that you can't even imagine. And if you don't have an internal drive to live the life you're created to live, you will quit. And I hear so many people blaming everyone else for why they have not stepped into their greatness. You know how you can know whether you've taken ownership of your own greatness? Is if you've taken ownership of your own failures. But if you keep blaming everyone else for you never living up to your potential, then your drive is external and not internal. And by the way, the reward of fame or applause or celebration, those are all external. If you're living for the applause and for the fame and for the adulation of others, you're a hollow shell. It has to be an internal drive that says, this is what I'm created to do. I must do this. It gets you up every day. You know, I spent years working with the urban poor, and I had this belief that if I could just give everyone opportunity, it would change their life. And one of the most painful things in the world is when I realized it wasn't true. See, I can give a person opportunity, but they have to bring to it determination. And there's some of you here, you've convinced yourself that God has been unfair with you. He has given you the opportunities He's given other people. See, I know how it looks. It looks like I have had unfair, disproportionate amounts of opportunity in my life. But I want to push back for just a moment. I think God has given you as many, if not more, opportunities than I have had. See, the difference is when you face opportunity, when you come to opportunity, if you do not bring determination, the opportunity is lost. It looks like it never existed. you have to have determination and resilience. And if you don't have an internal drive that gets you up every day, you will not have the strength to overcome the challenges ahead of you. That's one of the reasons I love taking people with me when we travel. This time, Aaron and I had Kevin Pena and Albert Aquino with us, and I just love having different people along the way. And it always surprises them how little we sleep. It always surprises them how many hours we actually are actively involved and engaged. And we flew into a country and I spoke. We flew into a country and I spoke. We flew into a country and I spoke. It wasn't like flew into a country, had a few days at the beach, and then we got to work. We would fly in just in time to go to the event. And we put in 15, 16, 18-hour days, and the next morning, 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning or 6:30 in the morning, if there was an exercise room, we'd be in the weight room. We'd be in the exercise room. And I remember one day, along the way, Albert came to me, and he said, bro, are you always this intense? I said, well, what are you talking about? He goes, I just watch you, exercise. You're really intense. I go, this isn't intense. This is just normal. You know what I've realized? We've convinced ourselves that apathy is average. And just being fully alive is intensity. I want to be really clear. I'm not a chill person who occasionally is intense. I'm an intense person who's learned how to be chill. Because every day matters. Because we're running out of time. Because no one else is responsible for my destiny except for myself. Because I don't want to stand in front of God and have him ask me, I gave you so many opportunities. Why did you just let them slip by? Why didn't you step into them? Why didn't you treasure what I've given you? You know what it takes to be great? You have to be driven, focused, passionate. You have to care about your life more than anyone else does, because no one else is responsible for your greatness but you. Joseph was a slave for 13 years. It would have been so easy for him to call it quits and say, God, I'm out. This dream is costing me too much. But some of us don't get it. Before God can build your dream, he has to build you. Because before God builds high, he builds deep. God was taking Joseph through the crucible that would prepare him for the opportunity that was waiting for him. Which leads me to the next characteristic of what it takes to be great, because every person who achieves a level of greatness in any field has a commitment to self-discipline. And I think this is a difficult thing to convince people of, because it's not sexy and it's not romantic. It doesn't speak to our ego or to our talent. But the reality is that you will never actualize your greatness until you take on some personal discipline in your life. Because greatness only exists on the other side of sacrifice. And if you don't learn the habit of deferred gratification, you will sacrifice your future for a temporary pleasure. Whenever you talk to people about morality or personal choices, you always come across so judgmental and condemning. That I just want you to make your own decisions. Everything you say yes to is a no to something else. And if you don't say no to the things that will steal your future, because you're saying yes to everything that fills the hollowness of your present, then you cannot blame God for never pulling out of you the greatness he put within you. There was a day in Joseph's life where he went from being a slave in prison to being a slave in the house of a man called Potiphar, a powerful Egyptian. And one day Potiphar was gone, and only Potiphar's wife was there with Joseph, and evidently Joseph was like a really good-looking guy, as all Joes are. Preach. Because underneath that, there's a washboard stomach was a finely tuned specimen of a man. And so Joseph was there with Potiphar's wife, and she was a floozy. You know, that's old school. It's old school. You know, she belonged on Empire or some other soap. And she said, Joseph, you know, my husband's gone, and you're looking fine today. And I just think we should spend some time. And she put on some Barry White. And Joseph said, "Nuh-uh, woman, I'm out of here." And he took off running, and she grabbed his clothes, and he ran out naked. Because he'd rather be naked and unashamed. And then she went to her husband and told her husband that he tried to rape her because she was embittered by his rejection. And just a small moment of pause. Be careful of people who are full of bitterness, because they will destroy everyone they can. Because when you're bitter, you can't stomach the happiness of other people. So she tries to destroy Joseph and sends him back to prison. And I'm sitting there going, God, this is not the way the story's supposed to be written. When you make a right choice, God's supposed to show up, right? The way the story's supposed to show up is he says, no, I would never do that. And God shows up and sets him free, saying, Joseph, I was testing you. But it's not like that. It gets worse. Don't ever think making the right choice is going to make everything better. It makes you better, not everything better. All right, come on. What it takes to be great is self-discipline. What are you saying no to right now? Or maybe it's a better question to ask. What should you be saying no to right now? Because it's stealing from you the big yes of your life. Some of you keep making the same stupid mistakes, making the same stupid choices over and over and over again. And so your future keeps looking like your past. And your greatness is buried under the rubble of your choices. But it's not too late. What if right now there's an opportunity in front of you that if you had made some right choices 5 years ago or right choices 10 years ago, you would be prepared to step into those opportunities right now? Have you ever had an opportunity that you just knew you're just not ready for? Like, no, I'm just not ready. I went in one time to read for a script, but I didn't know that I was reading for a script. I thought I was just going in for a part. When I got there was a line of people, and they were all ready. And I walked in, I had not even looked at the script. And the moment I sat in the room, they said, okay, let's do the reading. I realized, this is a bad moment. I'm not ready for this moment. Even if I have the talent for this moment, I don't have the preparation. See, there's some of you, there's a moment that God had for you, but because you didn't make a decision 5 years ago or 10 years ago, that moment is going to slip you by because you didn't make the choices of discipline to prepare you for this moment in your life. So now I want you to go into the future, because in 10 years, you're going to be looking back on this moment. In 5 years, you're going to be looking back on this moment. In 20 years, you're going to be looking back on this moment. What are the choices you need to make right now that one day in the future you look back and say, I'm so glad I made that choice, and discipline myself so that I could be ready for the opportunities in front of me. And then Joseph realized that God was going to keep using this theme of dreams. And then he started interpreting the dreams of people he met. And one day those dreams made their way to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh had a dream. And so they grabbed Joseph, and Joseph had been paying attention to how God speaks in these dreams and how he had given him this unique ability. And Pharaoh had a dream, and Joseph said, there's going to be 7 years of plenty and then 7 years of famine. And God is giving you the opportunity to prepare for the 7 years of famine if you'll be careful during the 7 years of plenty. And Pharaoh puts Joseph in charge of the 7 years of plenty. generosity so that he can take charge of the 7 years of famine. And here you have this dreamer who now becomes an accountant. This visionary who now becomes an economist. You know what I've discovered in my life? You know what it takes to be great? It's not just a sense of personal destiny or this self-motivated drive or this commitment to self-discipline, but there has to be a meticulous attention to detail. I used to interview people for jobs, but I don't do that anymore. But I'd always hear two answers when I'd say to people, you know, what are your strengths? What's your contribution? What do you want me to know about you? People would always say two things. One, I'm a people person. I thought, what does that mean, I'm a people person? What other options are there? Like, I'm an inanimate object person. I was like, we really don't have an opening for that. And I'm a people person. What do you do with people? Do you manipulate them? Do you eat them? Like, what does it mean to be a people? I said, there are vegans and there are people persons. And I thought that's so odd because, you see, if you don't know how to develop people or maximize people or mentor people or lead people, then what does it mean to be a people person? But the other thing they would always say is, I'm a visionary. I cannot tell you how many 22-year-olds I would meet, they would always say, I'm a visionary. I go, wow, that's really fascinating. What does that mean? Well, I'm a big picture person. That means I work better when I have a staff that implements the vision. They go, oh, well, I just want you to know that job's been filled. I'm the visionary. And I'm looking for a staff that will implement the vision. So we don't really have a place for you. But what do you mean by a visionary? Well, I have huge dreams. I remember one time I interviewed a guy. I said, what do you hope to accomplish? He said, I want to change the world. That's a good one. That's like world peace for Miss Universe. And because I want to change the world. And I said, so where are you going to start? He said, that's the tricky part. I said, I can tell you, you're not going to change the world. Because the people who change the world change the square feet underneath their feet. That's where you start. But you know what people usually mean when they say I'm a visionary? It means I actually don't care about anything enough to see it through. I don't care enough about anything to care about the details. I think Michelangelo was a visionary, and I think he cared about the details. I think Da Vinci was a visionary who cared about the details. I think Picasso was a visionary who cared about the details. I think Frank Lloyd Wright was a visionary, and thank God he cared about the details. See, I think Spielberg is a visionary, and he cares about the details. I think Hemingway was a visionary who cared about the details. In fact, everyone who cares about what they're creating actually cares about the details. See, I've been married 35 years, and when I was first dating Kim and married to her, I bought her a lot of gifts she did not want. I used to buy her t-shirts everywhere I went. I don't know why I did that. Like, I'd bring her a t-shirt from everywhere. She never wore a single t-shirt I bought her. We actually ended up having boxes of t-shirts that one day she gave away. And the reason was because, see, when you marry someone, you're actually marrying a stranger. Yeah, you are. It's a stranger you love. But it's a stranger, and you get to know them as you're married. And because I'm sort of a combination of generosity and OCD, I went from buying her t-shirts to suddenly I decided I was going to buy her clowns. Do you remember the clowns? That's good that you don't remember. And I started buying her clowns from all over the world. And our house was full of clowns. Terrifying clowns. And Kim never liked clowns. But I just thought, clowns. And then when I ran out of clowns, I decided to go with lambs. I started buying her lambs from all over the world. And our house was full of lambs. And then when the lamb phase went out, I started buying her bears from everywhere in the world. I remember one time when Aaron was like 1 year old, she took the clothes off of a bear and put them on Aaron. He's still working through all that. And I kept buying Kim all these clusters of things. And she never liked any of them. And then I went to teapots. I love tea. I thought, oh, she'll love teapots. So I started buying teapots from around the world. She still has some of those. They're pretty nice. But eventually it occurred to me, I should probably know my wife better. I should probably find out what she loves. What expresses for her love. What lets her know I actually am thinking about her, that I care about her. See, the things you don't care about, the details, are the things you don't care about. And frankly, one of the things that really messed me up coming back from Singapore is like Singapore is like perfect. They care about the details, maybe to a compulsive level. I mean, they have every tree numbered. And the president drives through the country, and if there's a tree that isn't properly groomed, he calls the government and they come and fix it right away. This is like an OCD dream come true. The streets are spotless, so clean, everything designed so perfect. The buildings are brilliant. And then I flew in to LA. I love LA. LA is my love. But I realized, wow, we are one ugly city. What is like, we're kind of nappy. We it's like, LA hasn't been taken care of. We just throw trash everywhere. The streets are just packed with layers and layers of gum and worse. And even when I came up, even on our space, the space where we meet, I realized we don't really care about the attention to detail. I thought I would go to Malaysia and see these rundown churches. And I thought, well, they're not in LA, the epicenter of creativity. And every place we went surpassed us. They cared so much about every detail because they believed it was an expression of the creativity and beauty and majesty of God. And I just felt so convicted. I started thinking about our lives. What are the details of your life that you're not paying attention to? That actually communicate that you just don't care enough. Great employees, they see the big picture, they see the vision, but they care about the details. Men and women who make it in a world of economy and the marketplace, they care about the details of their company. It's why Apple emerges and rises above the rest. It's why Nike becomes a brand that just sets a global standard, because those companies, those brands that actually not only have vision, but they care about the details, they're the ones that inspire us. And how much more should we, who are the people of Jesus, care about excellence and beauty and elegance? See, when you take ownership, you begin to see everything differently. When you take ownership, you begin to move toward excellence. And then just one last thought. I just love how Joseph was able to take care of the grain, and they took care of every single grain so they could overcome a famine. Never act like details don't matter. Just be honest and say you don't care. Because when you love deeply, you see so clearly. But what you see at the end of Joseph's life, he says, I'm about to die, but surely God will come to your aid and will take you up out of this land to the land he promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Do you hear what he's saying to them? I'm going to die, but my dream is not dying. He says, and Joseph made the Israelites swear an oath and said, God will surely come to your aid, and you must carry my bones up from this place. This is, to me, the most amazing moment, because it just reminds us what it takes to be great. It's to live your life for more than yourself, but to live your life for others. Because you see, they hated him because they thought his dream was about himself. They thought his dream was about his life. But God will never give you a dream that's just about you. If your dream is just about you, I can tell you it is not God's dream for your life. And Joseph's saying to them, look, I've brought you into Egypt. This would happen. There was a famine, and Joseph's family was going to die. And so they had to finally surrender themselves to Egypt so that they wouldn't starve to death. They didn't know that Joseph had become the most powerful man in all of Egypt, other than Pharaoh. And so when they surrendered themselves to Egypt, they thought their future was over. They found that, no, this was the place where God had protected their future. And they stepped into their future through Joseph's dream. And Joseph said, I'm about to die, but my dream isn't finished. And it says that they embalmed him and placed him in a coffin in Egypt because the Pharaoh wanted to give Joseph the highest honor. But Joseph knew his story was never supposed to end in Egypt. He said, I want you to take my bones. Because the future is coming. There's going to be a day where you're going to go out and you're going to be a nation. You're going to enter into a promised land. And I want you to take my bones with you as a reminder that my dreams were always for you. My dreams were always about your future. And I love that. He says, you must carry my bones up. That's what I want. I want my bones carried up. I want my life to be bigger than myself. I want my dreams to be bigger than me. How about you? I'm so sick and tired of everyone in this city pursuing their dreams and running over everyone else and crushing everybody else's dream. Acting as if the only dreams that matter are the ones that are in your heart. If your dreams are just for you, those dreams need to die. Joseph was a dreamer who dreamed not only for himself, but for everyone he loved. And his bones were going to point the way to a future they could not believe in or see themselves. What it takes to be great is to realize that God has placed greatness within you, but it's not for you. He didn't give the greatness inside of you as a gift to you. The greatness inside of you is your gift to the world. But you have to take stewardship of your life. You have to take ownership of that greatness. You got to stop complaining and pointing to other people and circumstances and your environment and saying, this is why I've never stepped up into my greatness. And you say, God, I know you've given me something and it's a stewardship of my life, and I will pay the price to be the woman and the man that God has created me to be. Because there's enough average in this world. We're all drowning in an ocean of mediocrity. We've set a standard for each other that's measured by apathy. And we need to defy the status quo. There's greatness inside of you. To say anything less is to speak poorly of God. There's greatness inside of you because you were created by a great God. You're created in his image and likeness, and that image and likeness looks great. I don't care how many times you failed or how much you've messed up or how little you believe in yourself or how many people have told you that you're not enough. I want you to know that greatness is not lost. It's just waiting for you to step into a relationship to the God who created you, so he can awaken that greatness and set it free. When Jesus stepped into human history, when God took on flesh and blood, he didn't need that. God was already great. God didn't need to do anything else to prove his greatness. When Jesus gave his life on the cross, that wasn't for him. See, those were the 6 minutes that God had the ball in his hands. It wasn't for himself. See, Jesus didn't die on the cross to prove to us he was great. Jesus was already great. And he sacrificed himself so that you could become the person God created you to be. Like the greatest. It wasn't just about his demonstration of greatness. It was about creating an environment where your greatness would be set free. Man, let me tell you, if you feel average, get on the court with Jesus. Watch how your life changes. Watch how people will see you differently. They won't be able to explain your life. They go, I didn't think you were that talented. I didn't think you were that smart. I just didn't think you were all that. You just need to let them know. It's just that I'm on the right team. I'm with the greatest player who ever lived. I am now connected to the definition of greatness. And everyone connected to him finds their greatness too. And when Jesus rose from the dead, he didn't do it for himself. He did it for you and for me so that we could find life in him. And there's some of you here right now, your soul is just haunted by the loss of who you are. You know that you are not living the life you're created to live. You know that you've settled for less. You know that your greatness is somehow lost in the abyss of your soul, and you need someone to help you find yourself. And I want you to know that Jesus is here right now, and he's ready to set you free. He's ready to remove the rubble of all your fears and doubts, the rubble of all your failures and all your shame, and he is ready to reclaim you and liberate you and bring the greatness in you out. But you have to decide. You have to decide to cross that line of faith and to give your life to him. Would you just bow your heads with me just for a moment? Just close your eyes. There's some of you here right now. This is your moment. It's time. This is the moment you're going to look back on in 5 years and 10 years and 20 years and say, that was the moment my life changed. That was the moment I made a decision that changed everything for me. That was the day I crossed the line of faith and I gave my life to Jesus, and it changed everything. And if you're here and you're ready to trust Jesus with your life, I want you to pray a simple prayer with me. Just one sentence. Jesus, I give you my life. That's it right now. Just pray it to him. Jesus, I give you my life right now. Just declare it to him. Jesus, I give you my life. Right now, as you pray that prayer, I want you to know that Jesus is giving you his life. That the great God is coming to live within you. His greatness will dwell within you. He will never leave you or abandon you. You will always belong to him. And your future, your destiny is now in his hands, not just your hands. Right now, if you prayed that prayer, Jesus, I give you my life, I want to pray for you. But I want you right now with courage, without hesitation, I want you just to raise your hand and say, yes, I just crossed the line of faith. Yes, I just prayed that prayer. Jesus, I give you my life. Beautiful. Anyone else right now, just hold your hand up high. Jesus, I give you my life. Wonderful. Jesus, I give you my life. Beautiful. Anyone else? Wonderful. Jesus, I give you my life. Yes. Jesus, I give you my life. Right now, wherever you are. Jesus, I give you my life. Wherever you are, right now, just hold it up again. I want to see all of you right now. Everyone who just raised your hand a moment ago, just hold it up right now. I want to see all of you in this moment. Father, I thank you for the men and women in this moment who've opened their lives to you. I pray, God, you would wrap them in your love and let them know they belong to you, that you will never leave them or abandon them, that their future begins now. We pray in your name, Jesus. Now, I want you to keep your heads bowed just for a moment. There's some of you here. I know you believe in Jesus. I know this is not new for you. But you haven't made the choice before tonight to do what it takes to be great. And you're haunted because you know you're living beneath God's intention for your life. You've been living in fear. You've been drowning in doubt. You feel you're inadequate, insignificant, insufficient, but you're ready to step into the greatness that Jesus placed in you. I want to pray for you, but I want you to find the courage just to stand right now and say, that's me. I'm just done living like this. I want everything Jesus has for me. I want to live in that greatness. I'm willing to pay the price for this life. I want to step into that calling. I want to live the intention that God created me to live. Beautiful. Anyone else right now, just stand. I want to pray for you. If there's anyone else, I just want to pray for you right now. Just stand right now, if that's you. Beautiful. Anyone else? Wonderful. Jesus, I pray for those who are standing in this moment. I pray that they would stand in your strength, that they would stand in your courage. They would stand, God, in your intention, your purpose. That, God, that they would have an overwhelming realization that their life is in your hands. And that, God, that you have placed in their hands an opportunity and they need to bring the determination. I pray for Jesus that today would be a defining marker in their life. They would look back on it one day and say, that was the moment everything changed for me. We thank you, Jesus, and we pray in your name. Amen. Can we all stand together? Just thank God for what he's doing in this place right now. Come on, let's just thank God for tonight. We're going to sing one last worship song. I am so excited about what's going to happen over the next weeks. I just want to encourage you. Be here next week. Show up every week. Don't think that God's going to change things in a moment. You have to step into your future. You have to lean into the life you long for. So be here next week. Invite your friends. Get into a crew or into a book club. Lean into the material of Chasing Daylight. Do everything you can do to become the person God created you to be. Don't wait for someone else to pull the greatness out of you. You make that choice. You step into it and watch what God will do.
You won't betray me. You'll never fail me, and I won't be afraid. You won't forsake me. You won't betray me. You'll never fail, and I won't be afraid, because you will protect me. You will defend me. You're standing with me, and I won't be afraid. No, you will protect me. You will defend me. You're standing with me, and I won't be afraid. I will be anxious for nothing. I hold on to one thing. You are my comfort, my peace. Yes, I will be safe in your presence, so fierce and so tender. My comfort, my peace. I will be anxious for nothing. I hold on to one thing, my God. My comfort, you're my peace. Yes, I will be safe in your presence, so fierce and so tender. My comfort, my peace.
Let's give it up. Can we just give honor to our pastor, Erwin McManus, for that amazing talk? So challenging. It's so amazing to have someone who can call so much out of us and show us, live an example of what it is to live a life of greatness and to reach out to Jesus in so many ways. Well, we want to encourage you, those of you who stood so boldly and who made that decision tonight, outside at the Next Step area, we have a Bible. It's for you. There'll be someone up holding it. Don't be afraid. Just go ahead and grab it from them, and we can start a conversation, continue this conversation that you're now having with Jesus out at the Next Step area. And the last thing is we're going to be doing Chasing Daylight, as we talked about earlier in the gathering. Pick up this book tonight if you want to really dive deeper into what it is to live a life of greatness and boldness. This book contains so much of that, and we want to continue this conversation through crews and through book clubs that we can start together in our community. So go outside, do that. We love you guys so much. Have an amazing rest of your night, and we'll see you back at midweek.